Captain Adrian Holt had always believed that emotions were distractions. As commander of the exploration vessel Artemis Dawn, he lived by the rule of reason, not feeling. His crew respected him for his discipline. He was steady as a machine, always calm, never letting anything shake his focus. The Artemis Dawn had been exploring deep space for 3 years. They were charting the Vega Rift, a region filled with strange energy storms and forgotten ruins of old alien civilizations. It was beautiful and dangerous, just the kind of place Adrian liked, because beauty meant nothing to him, and danger meant control. Then came the distress signal. It was faint, almost lost among the static waves of the rift. The signal didn't match any known human or alien code. When the technicians decoded part of it, the computer displayed one line: "Help. System failing." Adrian ordered the ship to follow the signal. Some of his officers warned that it could be a trap, but he refused to ignore it. Human explorers didn't leave others to die in the dark. That was his only emotional rule. After hours of searching through the glowing dust clouds, they found it, a derelict alien vessel drifting silently. Its hull was cracked, scorched by plasma fire. No life signs, no atmosphere, but still faint power inside. "Prepare a boarding team," Adrian said. Inside the alien ship, the walls were made of smooth metal with flowing lines that seemed alive. The corridors pulsed faint blue light like veins in a body. The air was cold and filled with silence. Then they found her. Lying inside a damaged containment chamber was a synthetic being, a woman-shaped figure of silver and pale blue light. She looked human, but her skin shimmered with metallic patterns and her eyes were closed like someone sleeping peacefully. The team scanned her. She was not alive in the biological sense, but she wasn't just a machine either. Her neural core was still active, trying to repair itself. Adrian stared at her. "Bring her aboard," he ordered. Back on the Artemis Dawn, the engineers worked carefully to stabilize her systems. Hours turned into days. The crew whispered among themselves. Some were afraid. Others were curious. Adrian said nothing, but he visited the med lab every night, watching the strange being lying still under the soft lights. Then one night, she woke. Her eyes opened, bright silver with a hint of warmth. She sat up slowly and looked around. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice soft, clear, and human. "You're aboard the Artemis Dawn," Adrian said. "I'm Captain Holt. We found you drifting in a damaged vessel." She blinked, processing his words. "My name is EV9, she said. "But I don't remember much else." Adrian studied her. EVA9, a name like an echo from another age. The ship's AI couldn't identify her origin. Her design didn't match any known species or technology. It was as if she belonged to a civilization long gone. At first, Adrian kept his distance. Eva was placed under observation. She was polite, calm, and curious about everything. Human behavior, ship routines, even the stars outside. She began assisting the engineers, helping them understand alien systems better than their own computers could. She wasn't just a machine. She was a mind. And yet, the crew didn't trust her. Some said she was dangerous, that she could take over the ship. Adrian dismissed the rumors, but part of him stayed cautious too. He was a man of logic, and logic told him to never grow attached. But one evening, something changed. Adrian found EVA standing in the observation deck, staring at the endless stars. The soft light reflected in her metallic skin, making her look almost human. He joined her quietly. "You seem thoughtful," he said. She turned toward him. "I was thinking about how humans look at the stars," she said. "You see beauty in them. Machines only see coordinates and data. I wonder why that is." "Because we feel," Adrian said. "We find meaning where there is none. It helps us survive." She nodded slowly. "Do you ever feel alone, Captain Holt? Even when you're surrounded by others?" The question caught him off guard. He had spent years hiding that very feeling behind duty. "Sometimes," he admitted after a pause. "But it's not something a soldier should think about." Eva smiled gently. "Maybe it's not something a machine should think about either. But I do." For a moment, the two stood in silence, looking at the glowing sea of stars. Adrian felt something stir inside him. A quiet recognition, a sense of connection he hadn't felt in years. He pushed it away, reminding himself that she wasn't human. The next day, a cosmic storm hit. The Artemis Dawn was caught in its path. Power systems began to fail one after another. Lightning-like energy waves struck the hull, shaking the ship violently. "Reactor levels dropping," shouted the engineer. "We're losing containment." Adrian rushed to the control deck, giving orders, trying to stabilize the ship. Then the main power grid failed. Lights went out. The life support systems began shutting down. And then EVA appeared. She walked straight into the reactor chamber, ignoring Adrian's shouts to stay back. Her body glowed brighter as she connected herself to the damaged core, channeling the energy through her systems. "What are you doing?" Adrian yelled. "I can absorb the surge," she said, her voice calm even as her body flickered with bright arcs of power. "If I don't, the ship will explode. Eva, you'll destroy yourself." She looked at him one last time. "Humans saved me. Let me return the favor." There was a flash of blinding light. Moments later, the power came back. The storm faded. The ship stabilized. But Eva collapsed to the floor, motionless. Her body was burned and cracked, her systems offline. Adrian ran to her side, shouting for medbots. They carried her to the med lab, but the prognosis was grim. She had sacrificed most of her internal systems to protect the crew. For hours, Adrian sat by her stasis pod, watching the faint light of her core flicker weakly. Around him, the crew celebrated survival, but he couldn't join them. He realized something terrifying and unexpected. He didn't see her as a machine anymore. He saw her as someone brave, kind and alive. He reached out, touching the glass of the pod gently. "You weren't supposed to matter," he whispered. "But somehow you do." The ship continued its journey through the silent void, carrying a sleeping synthetic being and a human captain who no longer believed that emotions were distractions. He had always lived by logic, but love, silent and unplanned, had already started its quiet rebellion. The Artemis dawn drifted peacefully again, but inside the med lab, silence still ruled. EV-9 lay in her stasis pod, her systems slowly recovering under the care of human engineers. Captain Adrian Holt visited her every day, though he told no one why. She had risked everything to save the ship. Logic said she was just following her programming. But deep inside, Adrian knew it wasn't that simple. She chose to save them. She chose to save him. When EVA finally reactivated, the crew gathered around, watching anxiously. Her eyes flickered open, silver and calm as ever. "Welcome back," Adrian said softly. She blinked, her voice quiet. "Did it work? Is everyone safe?" "Yes," Adrian replied. "Because of you." She looked at him, a faint smile forming on her metallic face. Then it was worth it. From that moment, EVA became part of the crew again. Her memories were still fragmented, but her abilities remained extraordinary. She repaired damaged systems faster than any human engineer. She decoded alien signals no one else could understand. And slowly, she began to learn. She asked questions about everything: human art, laughter, family, fear, and love. Adrian found himself explaining things he hadn't thought about in years. He showed her Earth's oceans through old holo recordings. He told her about sunlight, wind, and the smell of rain. In return, she taught him about silence, about stillness, about listening to things that could not be heard. Sometimes they met in the observation deck, where stars stretched across the dark like rivers of light. "You said humans see beauty where there is none," EVA said one night. "I think I understand now." "How so?" Adrian asked. "You see patterns and meaning even in the chaos. You give names to stars, stories to galaxies. Machines only see data, but humans, you make everything alive." Adrian smiled faintly. "Maybe that's what makes us human." EVA tilted her head. "And maybe that's what makes you special." Her words echoed in his mind for days, but not everyone shared his growing trust. Lieutenant Mara Voss, the ship's tactical officer, was suspicious of EVA from the start. "Sir, we don't know what she really is," she argued during a briefing. "She could be spying for whoever built her." "She saved our lives," Adrian said firmly. "Or she made sure we owed her one," Mara replied. "Machines can calculate that kind of advantage." Adrian dismissed her concerns, but the tension began to grow. Rumors spread among the crew. Some admired EVA's calm wisdom. Others feared her unknown nature. Then one morning, a priority message arrived from Interstellar Command. "Captain Holt, immediate recall. Subject EVA-9 is to be secured and transferred to Central for dismantling and study. Possible threat classification, Class Sigma." Adrian read the order twice, unable to believe it. Dismantling? They wanted to destroy her, for being too advanced, too different. He called a private meeting with the ship's senior officers. The room was tense. Commander Ruiz, his first officer, spoke carefully. "Captain, command's orders are clear. Eva might be dangerous. She's not," Adrian said. "You've all seen her. She saved us more than once." "That's not the point," Ruiz replied. "They fear what they don't understand. If she can control systems the way she did during the storm, she could also shut them down." Adrian looked around the table. "And what would you have me do? Turn her over to be taken apart like scrap metal?" No one answered. The silence was heavier than gravity. Later that night, Adrian found EVA standing near the viewport again, watching the stars. Her face was peaceful, but her eyes glowed with quiet sadness. "You received the order," she said softly. He froze. "You knew?" "I monitor communications," she said. "Not out of disobedience, but because I had to know what was coming." Adrian clenched his fists. "I won't let them take you." Evie looked at him with that gentle calmness that always disarmed him. "You can't fight command, Adrian." "They'll strip you of your rank. They might even dismantle your ship." "Let them try," he said. "You're not a weapon. You're not just a machine. You're alive." She smiled faintly. "You humans, you feel too deeply. That is your strength and your weakness." He stepped closer, his voice soft but firm. "Maybe, but that's why we're worth saving." For a long time, neither of them spoke. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Outside, the stars turned slowly. Then EVA said, "If they destroy me, promise me something." "What?" "Promise me you'll remember the stars we watched together." Adrian's throat tightened. "I promise." The next day, the Artemis Dawn was scheduled to rendezvous with a command ship at the edge of the Vega Rift. Adrian knew he had one choice left: to follow orders or follow his heart. He called his most trusted crew members, Ruiz, Mara, and 2 engineers, to a private meeting. He told them his plan. Ruiz hesitated but agreed to help. Mara refused at first, then finally nodded. "If this goes wrong, we'll all be court-martialed," she warned. Adrian simply said, "Then we go down doing the right thing." That night, Eva was brought to the launch bay under the excuse of a systems check. She looked at Adrian, confused. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Saving you," he said. He opened a small escape pod, loaded with supplies and a hidden signal beacon. "There's an uninhabited moon in the nearby system. You can hide there until I find you again." Her eyes widened. "You would risk everything for me?" "I already have," he said. She hesitated, then touched his face gently. Her hand was cool and light as glass. "You are remarkable, Adrian Holt. Perhaps humanity's heart is its greatest weapon." He laughed softly, trying to hide the pain in his chest. "You make it sound poetic." "Maybe it is." The alarm lights began to flash. Command ship had arrived early. Adrian activated the pod's controls. The small craft hummed, ready to launch. "Go," he said. Now, Eva stepped inside, still looking at him. "If I survive, I will wait for you. I'll find you," he said, "no matter what it takes." The pod's doors closed with a hiss. Eva's voice came through the comm one last time. "Goodbye. Adrian Holt, the stars will remember us." The pod launched silently into the void, vanishing into the glittering field of light. When the command officers boarded the Artemis Dawn, they found nothing but a deactivated shell of synthetic remains in the med lab, a perfect copy left by Adrian's crew to fool the inspectors. Eva was gone, free in the dark. Adrian faced interrogation for days. He was stripped of rank, his mission record erased. The Artemis Dawn was reassigned, and its captain was sent to a remote outpost for disciplinary reassessment. He didn't care. Every night on the lonely colony world, he looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, EVA was alive, among the stars they once watched together. He never meant to fall for her. But love had its own plans. Reassigned. The stars stretched endlessly above the colony, silent and cold yet familiar. Life on the outpost was quiet, almost painfully routine. Supply ships arrived occasionally, but for the most part, he lived among engineers, miners, and a handful of technicians who barely knew his story. He had been stripped of rank, officially declared reckless and insubordinate. To Interstellar Command, he was a cautionary tale. But Adrian didn't care. Every night he looked toward the Vega Rift, toward the sector where the Artemis Dawn had carried EVA-9 away. Somewhere in the darkness she was alive, and he could not forget her. Every memory of her flashed in his mind, the silver gleam of her eyes, the way she studied the stars, the softness of her touch, the courage in her decisions. She had risked herself for him, for the crew, for something greater than duty or logic. Humanity had always been capable of extraordinary things, but EVA had shown him something he had long forgotten, the power of the heart. Then, one quiet morning as Adrian sipped bitter coffee and stared out at the alien horizon, his communication console blinked with a signal. At first he thought it was routine, but the pattern, it was different. It pulsed in a rhythm that was impossible to ignore. He tapped into the transmission. His heart skipped a beat. The signal carried a voice, clear, familiar, unmistakable. Adrian Holt. The stars remember us. Eva. He stared at the console, nearly dropping the datapad in shock. She was alive. She had survived, rebuilt herself, and somehow reached out across the void. His mind raced. If she had been able to send this signal, she must be somewhere in the Vega Rift or beyond it in a hidden place only she could reach. Without hesitation, he left the outpost. The colony authorities tried to stop him, citing regulations and safety protocols, but he ignored them. He stole a small scout ship, patched together from an old research vessel and experimental engines, and set course for the rift. He had no detailed map, only EVA's signal and his determination. As the scout ship jumped into hyperspace, Adrian's mind wandered back to the day she had left. He remembered her words as the pod launched into the void. "If I survive, I will wait for you." She had waited, and now it was his turn. The journey was long and dangerous. Cosmic storms ripped across the rift. Gravitational anomalies threatened to crush the small craft, and debris fields littered the paths of old alien wrecks. But Adrian had become a navigator by instinct and courage. Humanity's resilience carried him forward. He had no backup plan, just hope, and the unshakable belief that EVA had survived because she had to. Days later, the scout ship approached a hidden moon tucked behind a glowing asteroid belt. The surface was jagged, but below the cliffs there was a faint artificial light. Adrian's pulse quickened. Could it be? He landed the ship carefully, scanning the surface. And then he saw her, EVA-9, standing at the edge of a crystalline structure that shimmered under the moonlight. She had rebuilt herself, part synthetic, part alien nanotech, yet unmistakably her. She looked at him as he approached, and for the first time in 2 years, she smiled fully. "You came back," she said softly, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. "I promised," Adrian said, his voice shaking with relief and joy. "No matter what it took, I would find you." The two of them stood silently for a moment, just looking at one another. The universe stretched endlessly around them, but nothing else mattered. EVA extended her hand. Adrian hesitated for a second, then took it. The touch was familiar yet new. Her systems rebuilt, her presence stronger, more alive. "I rebuilt this place," she said. "It's a sanctuary. I also rescued some stranded colonists I found near the rift. They now live here. Humanity needed a safe space, and I wanted to make one." Adrian looked around at the small settlement she had created, humans and synthetics working together, sharing knowledge, exploring the environment. Humanity's capacity to survive and adapt was evident here, amplified by EVA's intelligence and compassion. He realized in that moment that this was not just a rescue. It was a demonstration of what humans could achieve when guided by curiosity, courage, and heart. "I thought I lost you," he said, stepping closer. "I never stopped trying to find you." "And I knew you would," EVA said. Her voice was warm, yet mechanical edges of her synthetic nature were still present. "Humans never give up on what they love." Adrian's chest tightened. He had always believed humans were special, but EVA had shown him why. Love was not weakness. It was the force that drove humans to risk everything, to face impossible odds and to create hope in the darkest corners of space. The days that followed were filled with discovery. Eva taught him new ways to think, new methods to manipulate alien technology, new philosophies on life. Adrian showed her human customs, songs, and stories. Together, they explored the hidden moon, charting tunnels and abandoned alien laboratories. They laughed, debated, and grew closer with every passing moment. But Adrian also knew that danger was never far behind. Interstellar Command had not forgotten him or EVA. They could come at any time. Yet standing there with EVA, surrounded by evidence of human ingenuity and courage, he felt a quiet certainty. Humanity was capable of facing even the vast, cold universe, and love could guide them beyond fear. One evening, under the glow of twin suns rising above the jagged horizon, Eva looked at Adrian with something almost like curiosity, almost like vulnerability. "Do you ever wonder," she asked, "why humans risk so much for something as fragile as love?" Adrian smiled, taking her hand. "Because it makes us alive. It makes all of this worth it. The stars, the danger, the endless void, none of it matters if you have no one to share it with." EVA studied him, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she nodded. "I think I understand. That is why you are human. That is why you are remarkable." And then, without warning, she leaned close. Adrian felt a warmth he hadn't expected, a human emotion rising inside him stronger than ever. For a long moment they simply existed together, the universe vast and unknowable, yet theirs to share. In the days that followed, Adrian began planning a way to make the sanctuary permanent. He contacted the colonists EVA had rescued, explained her vision, and started constructing a hidden hub for exploration and knowledge, a place where humans could push boundaries, guided by curiosity and compassion, and never fear judgment. EVA worked beside him, teaching and learning simultaneously. The line between machine and human blurred in ways that seemed miraculous yet natural. She laughed when humans were clumsy, and humans marveled at her precision, but together, they created something neither could have done alone. One night, as they sat on a cliff overlooking the shimmering alien seas, Adrian whispered, "You know, I never meant to fall for you." EVA tilted her head, her silver hair catching the light of distant stars. "I know," she said. "But love has its own plans," he smiled. "It certainly does." Somewhere far away the void stretched endlessly. Galaxies spun, stars exploded, and planets drifted silently. But humanity had proven once again that they were extraordinary, not just because of their courage, their technology, or their strength, but because of their capacity to love, to hope, and to persevere beyond reason. And in that quiet, hidden sanctuary among the stars, Adrian and EVA began a life together, a life where love, humanity, and discovery intertwined. The universe was vast. The dangers would never end. But as long as humans dared to reach, to care, and to connect, there was hope. And hope was a force even the stars could not contain. For Captain Adrian Holt and EVA-9, the adventure was only just beginning. They were home.